protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. He's Hacker.
Talk about a fried egg. I lasted about 5 minutes out there. I said, to heck with this. I'll do this in the morning. And I don't have any inside information. The lady that did it, she got in there. She made it happen.
And he doesn't shy away from opinion.
And I do enjoy drinking cold beer at ballparks. So if that makes me a baseball fan, then I'm a diehard baseball fan.
It's Hacker After Dark on 1010XL.
And a very good Thursday evening to you, Jacksonville. It is Hacker After Dark, 1010XL, 92.5 FM with Dylan Denmark. The Hacker Ryan Green with you. Glad you are with us as we have a brand new offensive coordinator in Jacksonville, Florida. In fact, we got a bunch of new coaches, right? A lot of announcements were made earlier today, but clearly the biggest one, Grant Udinski, 29 years young. Formerly now of the Minnesota Vikings, the brand new offensive coordinator here in Jacksonville. He joins head coach Liam Cohen. He joins special teams coordinator Heath Farwell. And he joins defensive coordinator Anthony Campanile. And by my count, the elder statesman in the room of those three coordinators and that head coach is Heath Farwell at 43 years old. A lot of the assistants they're hiring as well aren't even as old as that. So a youth movement here on Jacksonville's coaching staff. More on that from a personal standpoint in just a moment. But Grant Udinski is in, 29 years old. We're going to go to Minneapolis coming up in about 15 minutes. My buddy Matthew Coller, he's been my Viking guy for a while. He was originally my Buffalo guy. And then he moved to Minneapolis to cover the Vikings. He's with Purple Insider and the Purple Insider podcast. So we're going to have Matthew on coming up here in about 15 minutes to give you the info, the information you need about your brand new offensive coordinator, 29-year-old Grant Udinski. Also former Jaguar wide receiver Cecil Shorts joins us every week here. We'll talk about the Jaguar coaching staff. We'll talk about Tony Baselli and being announced as the new EVP of football operations. And we'll also talk a little Super Bowl with the former 7-year NFL wide receiver. So Cecil Shorts joins us at the top of the 9 o'clock hour. We will keep you updated as well if it is announced in the next 2 hours. The Hall of Fame gets announced tonight. We know Fred Taylor is a finalist. I'm hoping for the best. I'm expecting it not to come to fruition, though. A lot of my hope was kind of taken away, quite honestly, a couple of weeks ago. And this is nothing against Jason Cole. He was just giving me his opinion. He's a Pro Football Hall of Fame voter. Now, they're obviously not allowed to tell us who they vote for, but they are allowed to talk about the sample ballots that they get. And Jason Cole, during that interview, said that of the 15 finalists, off the top of his head, he thinks he had Fred on his sample ballot, again, before hearing the argument, at about 10 or 11. So when I heard him say that, I was like, ugh, that's probably not good. So we'll see. Let's hope for the best. It would be unbelievable if he got in to join Tony Baselli in Canton, Ohio, as members of the Pro Football Hall of Fame. But I don't like the chances tonight. I'm just simply hoping that I'm wrong about that. But if that gets announced before 10 o'clock or so, we will certainly let you know. Every night here on Hacker After Dark, we do kick it off with a big deal of the night and Dylan Denmark. Let's do that right now.
Time now for the big deal of the night.
What's the big deal?
What is the big deal?
No big deal.
It is a big deal.
On Hacker After Dark.
You know, I've been thinking about this really for decades, but it's coming to fruition in front of my very eyes in the last 2 weeks. And it particularly jumped out at me today when the Jaguars hired 29-year-old Grant Udinski as their new offensive coordinator. You know, for years and years and years, me personally, myself, I don't know about you, but me, I would see these young, up-and-coming offensive minds get hired around the NFL. And they would put together young offensive staffs and defensive staffs, just young, hungry coaches. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But I always thought to myself, man, I wish Jacksonville would do something like that. Switch it up a little bit. Now, I've been a member of sports radio as an intern, a producer, and an on-air host. I've run the gamut dating back to August of 2002, which was the final year that Tom Coughlin was here in Jacksonville. And when Tom Coughlin got fired, the Jaguars hired a young defensive mind in Jack Del Rio. Nothing wrong with that, but he was a defensive guy. And Del Rio was here for darn near a decade. Then Del Rio gets fired, and they hire an offensive mind by the guy that's been around the block a little bit, and Mike Mularkey. He was only here 1 year. Then they go back to the young defensive mind in Gus Bradley, and that obviously did not work at all. After Gus Bradley, it was a veteran coach, a former head coach in the league, and Doug Marrone. Not exactly an offensive innovator. Then from Doug Marrone, we go to Urban Meyer, who had done it on the college level, but obviously was a gigantic failure in the NFL. And by no means was he a young up-and-comer by that point. And then after Urban Meyer, again, an offensive mind, but a guy in his mid-50s that maybe the game a little bit had passed him by in Doug Peterson. So I just ran the gamut, man. I just ran back the last 23 years of Jaguar football. And they are doing something now. The Jacksonville Jaguars are doing something now that they have not done in 2.5 decades. They hired a young offensive mind, and they are surrounding him with young offensive coaches and young defensive coaches. Again, the head coach, the OC, the DC, and the special teams coordinator, not one of them is older than 43 years old. Not one. If you take the average age of the 10 coaches that have been announced, you're looking at younger than 40 as the average age of this Jaguar coaching staff. I'm not going to complain about this because this is what I've always wanted. This is what 18, 19-year-old intern hacker back on 930 when I did the show with Mike Dempsey that most of you probably remember from back in the day, the afternoon program, the day that Coughlin got fired. I wanted a young offensive mind. I had to wait 23 years to get it. And finally, here we are in 2025, and the Jaguars are doing what I've hoped would have done for a long, long time. Will it work? Yet to be determined. But for the first time in a long, long time, it's the Jaguars that have the young offensive guy. It's the Jaguars that have the boy genius as offensive coordinator that's 29. It's the Jaguars that have a hungry coaching staff. Not one of these guys is older than 45 to this point. Maybe Doug Peterson and his staff, maybe the game had passed them by a little bit. Maybe they had their ring, or at least Doug Peterson, Press Taylor, they had their Super Bowl ring. I'm not saying they didn't try hard, but maybe they weren't as hungry as they were 5-10 years prior. Say what you will about this staff that Liam Cohen is assembling, but they're going to be hungry. They're going to be out to prove themselves. I like it. I like it a lot. I've been waiting 23 years for it. And to see it finally come to fruition is surreal for me personally. Very, very surreal. And I'm hoping for the best. Of course, here in Jacksonville, unfortunately, we've been programmed to expect the worst, right? I mean, I'm trying to rationalize my reaction if it doesn't work out for Liam Cohen, if it doesn't work out for these coaches. And they've only been here for a week and a half. As a media, as a fan base, we've kind of been beaten down in that regard by a team that has been just awful for a majority of the last 25 years. But this is different. They haven't done this. Young staff, young offensive coach. This is different. And that brings me to this. It's very different. But my question to you, and hit me up on the text line designed by Lifetime Enclosures, are you still going to be upset if Ethan Waugh is named the general manager of this football team? Now, I'm willing to bet many of you, not all, but many of you, probably knew the name Ethan Waugh, but you didn't know hardly anything about him other than he was Trent Baalke's guy, right? And that's going to be a hard thing to shake for Ethan Waugh, the way Trent Baalke was thought of here by this fan base, by this city. Ethan Waugh, whether it's fair or not, whether it's justified or not, has the Trent Baalke stink on his name. That's reality. And I was talking to a couple of my buddies today who, again, like the direction everything's going. They just hope they bring in an outside general manager. Well, I'm going to tell you that I watched an interview that Tony Baselli did on Radio Row yesterday, and he was very complimentary of Ethan Waugh. Now, it's going to be Shad Khan's decision, right? Shad's going to be the ultimate decision maker here. But Tony was very complimentary of Ethan Waugh. And look, since Baalke got thrown out the door 2.5 weeks ago, Ethan Waugh has been involved in the Liam Cohen situation. Ethan Waugh has been involved in the coaching search. Ethan Waugh is involved in the process. I have absolutely no problem, no quarrels with what Ethan Waugh has done to this point. I'm not exactly sure what he's done other than I know he's been involved. That's what happens when you're the interim general manager. He's certainly involved. And I have no issues with anything. But why do I get the vibe? And again, most of us would not know Ethan Waugh if he walked in here, if he walked into a restaurant you're sitting in right now. You would have no idea. I know what he looks like because I've done a couple of press conferences with him. But Ethan Waugh just has not been a public figure, being in the shadows down there at the Miller Electric Center. But because of the stink of Trent Baalke, unfortunately, that's something Ethan Waugh is going to have to deal with. And it's not fair to him, but that's where we are. And I'm just curious, with all the newness from the head coach to the coordinators to the staff, everything new that is going on with this organization, would it be a little bit of a, what's the right word? A buzzkill, maybe? If Ethan Waugh was named the GM? Because I think he's in play for that job. I do. Listening to Tony Baselli doing some of those interviews on Radio Row, I think Ethan Waugh is absolutely in play. Personally, I don't have necessarily a problem with that, but I get the vibe that some of you will because of the Trent Baalke factor. Hit me up on the text line, 641-1010. If Ethan Waugh is named the GM, would you be receptive to that? Or would you have a problem with that? We know Grant Udinski is here, 29 years old, a boy genius is the word on the street. 3 years with Kevin O'Connell and the Minnesota Vikings. Let's learn about this guy. He took offensive coordinator interviews as well in Seattle, New England. He was on the interview circuit. He lands here in Jacksonville with Liam Cohen. My guy up in Minneapolis is Matthew Coller, Purple Insider, the Purple Insider podcast. Let's find out about the Jaguars' newest offensive coordinator, 29 years young. Let's talk about Grant Udinski with Matthew Coller up in Minneapolis. He comes up next. Hacker After Dark on a Thursday evening. And as always, Jacksonville, Florida, and far beyond, we are glad you are with us.
Jeff Prosser,
He's smart, witty, dynamic, vicious, brutal, vindictive, a monster.
mornings from 6 to 10
I know he's the most competitive man in the world, but this beats them all.
on 1010XL.
Blue here for the Blue Crab House, located right off of San Jose. It's on Jewington Creek Road. They've been around since 1996. Indoor-outdoor dining. Also, takeout is available at the Blue Crab House. Open 4:30 to 9, Tuesday through Saturday. Sunday, noon until 9. Remember, Tuesday, $2 margaritas. Wednesday, $1 oyster night. How about the blue crabs? How about my personal favorite, the Canadian snow crabs? Whatever it is that you fancy, you get it right there. The Blue Crab House.
This is your Mad Dad's Update with Chapter President Donald Ford. In our effort to curb crime, drugs, and violence during the summer months, We are offering Friday Night Lights. It has already started and will be going until school starts back. It is every Friday night from 6:30 to 9:30 at the Blacktop, 5732 Normandy Boulevard, and behind the Potter's House Christian Academy. We manage 3 basketball courts. You are not running on the cement. We have covering on each court. The Lakers, the Magic, and the Heat. Ages 15 to 40 years old. This will give them something to do other than selling drugs and getting into trouble. We have monitors there giving leadership. We have to wake up, stand up, and speak up. Hit me on Facebook and tell me what you think. Or matt-jacksonville.com.
Visit Monahan Jewelers now through Valentine's Day for savings on all GIA certified diamonds and discounts store-wide up to 40% off and interest-free financing on all purchases. Certified diamonds, gemstones, engagement rings, diamond studs, designer brands. Monahan's has it all. We're not a chain store. We're your local family jeweler since 1977 with a world-class inventory of fine jewelry and diamonds and gemstones available in any size. Support your local family jeweler now through Valentine's with huge savings in our inventory. Monahan Jewelers in Atlantic Beach.
If you are an experienced electrician looking for your next big opportunity, look no further than the Miller Electric Company, a trusted name in the industry for over 96 years. At Miller Electric, we tackle the biggest projects in the city, offering you the chance to showcase your skills on a grand scale. We believe in rewarding hard work with the best pay, top-notch benefits, and an unbeatable culture where people actually care about each other. Take your career to new heights with Miller Electric Company. Apply today at millercareers.com. Miller Electric, an equal opportunity employer.
This date in sports history is brought to you by Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
On February 6, 1958, future Baseball Hall of Fame outfielder Ted Williams becomes the highest paid player in the MLB, re-signing with the Boston Red Sox for $135,000.
Denny Thompson here. This is the last week to enter for a chance to win a $2,500 prize over at the new Tyson Sound and Security showroom. I'm talking a 75-inch loaded Samsung TV with 3D surround sound, a soundbar with wireless subwoofer, and installation is included. Stop by the new showroom, check out the setup, and drop your name in the box to enter for your chance to win. Giveaway ends Sunday, so go now to Tyson Sound and Security, 3555 U.S. Highway 17 in Fleming Island.
Mia here. When it comes to roofing, whether it be shingles, metal, or most repairs, there is one name that has protected your home since 1999. Pro-Jax Roofing. Serving all of Northeast Florida, Mike and his guys have been repairing and replacing roofs for 25 years. Need insurance help? Mike's team can help. Raised in a military family, Mike provides great attention to detail with unparalleled quality and workmanship. They also have warranties, so you can have peace of mind. Call Mike today for a free estimate or online at projaxroofingfl.com.
Hey, Hicken here, or just call me Dreamfinders Danny. For a limited time to ring in the new year, Dreamfinders Homes is offering an amazing 4.99% fixed interest rate. Now's your chance to lock down that rate and get in the game. You heard me right. It's 4.99 fixed interest rate on select move-in ready homes. Visit dreamfindershomes.com for sales event information and get in the game. Interest rate available on select move-in ready homes. Restrictions and limitations apply. Go to dreamfindershomes.com for more details.
At Cannons of Jacksonville, they know that when you're towing anything, you gotta have products you can rely on. With over 50 years of fabrication expertise, the family at Cannons can repair or install precisely what you need to tow with confidence. Whether it's a heavy-duty hitch, trailer frame, gooseneck, tow bar, or any other towing accessory, Cannons will provide you with unmatched precision and durability. For all your towing needs, visit cannonsofjax.com, where quality and customer satisfaction collide.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville.
Back here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville, your home for the Jacksonville Jaguars, and we are glad you are with us. Many of us woke up this morning to the news that Grant Udinski, the 29-year-old, is now the brand new offensive coordinator for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Grant spent the last 3 years of his career up in Minneapolis with Kevin O'Connell and the Minnesota Vikings. So let's head to the Twin Cities. Our guy when it comes to the Vikings is Matthew Coller. He is with PurpleInsider.com, and he's always kind enough to join us here on 1010XL. Matthew, how you doing, man?
I'm doing great, except for I feel old today. You know, everybody talks about Kevin O'Connell as a young coach. I'm the same age as Kevin O'Connell. So I'm like, yeah, young is like under 40, right? Well, Grant Udinski just made me feel pretty old.
Yeah, you think you feel old. I'm 41. I'm 12 years older than the Jacksonville Jaguar offensive coordinator. All right, we know the name. We know that he got a lot of interviews. We've heard him called a whiz kid. On the surface, before we really break it down, Matthew, who is Grant Udinski? Why is he getting this opportunity at 29 years of age?
Yeah, I mean, first, I want to shout out my colleague, Ben Gessling, for the Star Tribune. If your listeners want to go find a really, really good in-depth feature on him, Google Star Tribune and Grant Udinski, because my friend Ben did a great piece on him and his unique personality. But there are a few guys that I've ever seen rise through the ranks as fast as Grant Udinski. I mean, he was a guy that played college football, and everybody that he ever has come across, he has made a very quick and great impression on. A lot of people talk about his mind for the game, his passion for the game, and I think that the McVay tree sort of attracts a certain type of person, if that makes sense, where guys who work really well with players, have a great attitude toward the game, have a passion for the game, but also really get along with other people in the building, like personality-wise. And I think that when you start to add those things up, I mean, it's not just that the guy knows X's and O's, which my understanding is that he's an absolute freak show when it comes to understanding the game, the memory of all the different plays, all the concepts. If you remember Sean McVay being asked about certain plays and he remembered every single detail of different touchdowns, well, Grant Udinski is the same kind of person. But I think that what was really telling to me is how close Grant Udinski was working with J.J. McCarthy this offseason. That is some pretty valuable merchandise, my friend. I mean, that's your franchise quarterback. And Grant was the guy that was really closely, directly in charge of working with him to fully understand the scheme. So 10 o'clock at night, 11 o'clock at night, J.J. McCarthy's trying to figure out what he's supposed to do the next day in practice with a certain concept. He's not texting the HC. He's texting his guy, Grant Udinski, that's working close with him. I think that tells you everything about Kevin O'Connell's trust for him when it came to teaching the system and exactly how he wanted it done.
Matthew Coller, Purple Insider, covering the Minnesota Vikings with us here on 1010XL in Jacksonville. And you bring up a good point. For people that don't know, Liam Cohen, the new Jaguar head coach, hasn't necessarily worked with Udinski, but Kevin O'Connell has. And Kevin O'Connell and Cohen were on the staff together in Los Angeles, so de facto, kind of part of the McVay tree. And I would have to think Cohen probably reached out to O'Connell, and O'Connell had to give his endorsement of this.
Oh, I absolutely guarantee it. Yeah, there's no question about it. I mean, first of all, I mean, all those guys know each other from coaching camps or connections or times they were on staffs and things like that. So there's no doubt that he reached out. But Kevin O'Connell's been saying this about Grant Udinski for years, both to people behind the scenes and then also in front of the cameras about Grant Udinski, that he felt like he was not far away from being an offensive coordinator type, which when you hear that about somebody so young, you think like, okay, this is some other assistant who he's talking highly of. But, Kevin O'Connell he's a very positive guy, but when he goes out of his way to compliment somebody like that he doesn't have to, when he's talking about J.J. McCarthy's progress, when he's talking about even onboarding someone like Josh McCown. So Josh McCown was the quarterback's coach last year, and of course he worked very closely with J.J. McCarthy and Sam Darnold as well. But the story went that O'Connell had Grant Udinski when they were traveling to meet different quarterbacks for the draft last year. He had Grant and Josh McCown drive together everywhere because he wanted Grant to help Josh McCown better understand their philosophies, their schemes, and he knew that they would spend every road trip talking about nothing but football. So I think that really tells you just how sold Kevin O'Connell was on Grant Udinski. And I think that kind of a real recognized real thing. I mean, when it comes to Kevin O'Connell, this guy knows people and this guy knows football as well as anybody. I mean, if it's a Belichick tree guy, you might be a little concerned, but when it comes to this McVay tree, or Shanahan, it seems like all of them seem to understand who kind of fits and who kind of understands that. And all of them understand that it all begins with the quarterback. And I think that in Jacksonville, of course, that's what you're looking for, right? Is to maximize the talents we all know that Trevor Lawrence has. So now he gets to work with somebody who is a great communicator, which you have to be to work for Kevin O'Connell. You absolutely have to be a great communicator, and somebody who understands the game at a much deeper level than his age would suggest.
Now, Matthew, Udinski got a lot of interviews. I believe Seattle, New England, Houston, maybe. He interviewed for a lot of OC jobs, including here in Jacksonville. He ultimately gets the Jaguar job. Was the thought in Minneapolis coming into the offseason that there was a real shot Udinski was going to leave to be an OC somewhere?
I knew that that was going to come eventually, but I actually, if you had asked me before the offseason, I would have said that someone would hire Josh McCown and then Grant Udinski would slide up into the quarterback coach position, would have been my expectation. But that's just based really on their age and experience, the fact that Josh McCown is a name in the league that everybody knows for all the years that he played and all the time he was a backup quarterback. And there was some interviews for Josh McCown. And I think had McCown maybe been hired early on, the Vikings would have bumped up Udinski and maybe offered him a few more bucks to try to stick around. But I mean, when you're getting offensive coordinator interviews, of course the Vikings are going to, well, I mean, you can always move up, but they're going to be happy for him to take that big leap. But I would have been a little surprised just because I can't remember another coordinator or another assistant of this level shooting up this much, like jumping the line. Usually you are the quarterback coach and then you'll go up to the offensive coordinator, then you go up to the head coach, that kind of thing. So when I saw he got interviews, I guess what I thought was that teams were kind of probing, like, let's find who the young guys in this league are and then we'll keep them in mind down the road. I actually didn't expect that it would happen this fast, but I think it tells you just about how impressive Grant really is.
A couple more from Matthew Coller, purpleinsider.com, covering the Minnesota Vikings. Matthew, Kevin O'Connell, he calls plays up there, right? O'Connell is the primary play caller?
Yes, that is correct, sir.
So obviously, I mean, Udinski's kind of used to the head coach calling plays because there's some talk down here about, Cohen's obviously the primary play caller. What's Udinski's role going to be? Well, he's still going to have a massive role, but I think it's good that he worked with a head coach that called plays for the last 3 years, so that won't be any sort of transition to come down here and work for Liam Cohen.
Yeah, 100%. And I think that, probably this is something that fans don't really understand, like how the game planning process works. The play caller does not sit in his office and come up with all the plays and then go call them on Sunday. I mean, this is an entire coaching staff that is now going to be led. I mean, we're talking running back coach, offensive line coach. They all work together to put together a game plan, and the leader of that operation is the offensive coordinator. So by the time that those plays show up on that big giant play sheet on Sunday for Liam Cohen to call them, they have all been put together by a group of people that's led by the offensive coordinator. I mean, what Liam Cohen's going to find out, and Kevin O'Connell's talked about it, is the head coach of a football team is very busy. And the head coach of a football team is not just sitting in his office and dialing up plays. He's responsible for an entire organization: offense, defense, special teams, communication, sometimes sales, interviews, all this sort of stuff. There is not enough hours in a day for a head coach to just do it all himself. So the role of the offensive coordinator, even if he is not the one calling the plays on Sunday, in terms of putting together that game plan, he has to be absolutely trusted, absolutely fluent in everything that head coach wants to do. And I think probably the connection with that McVay system from O'Connell really gave Udinski a leg up, because if you're that head coach calling plays on Sunday, you're basically approving the game plan and paring down the game plan. But these guys are spending the whole week putting it together. So Udinski's role is going to still be absolutely enormous, even if it's Cohen calling plays.
Final moments, Matthew Coller, Purple Insider, covering the Minnesota Vikings. Matthew, a couple of YouTube videos that I saw of Udinski, a couple of the podcast hosts were making note and kind of joking around about it, that whenever you saw Kevin O'Connell on television on the sideline, Grant Udinski was always the guy right behind him, right? He was always in the picture with O'Connell. Did they work in unison like that? It must have been a really good relationship between the two.
Yeah, no, there's no question. I mean, and when you would, because we're in the press box right over the Vikings sideline, and when the quarterback comes over to the sideline, of course, O'Connell is going to talk to Sam Darnold. But again, he's the head coach of the team. I mean, he can't just be sitting there, going over all of the things on the, I don't know if it's an iPad or Microsoft Surface these days or whatever they have, looking at the plays and stuff. It's Grant Udinski and it's Josh McCown that worked so closely with Sam Darnold last year. And I would point to Sam Darnold, of course, and his progress and getting him ready for a complicated offense. This is not a simple offense to just walk in and run some bootlegs or something. Like what it's become over the last couple of years is it's grown and grown and grown, this sort of McVay system with Kevin O'Connell. So getting a quarterback to come in with a bunch of players who all knew that system over 2 or 3 seasons was not an easy task. And he was a huge part of that, even on game day, for breaking down what Sam Darnold is seeing out there. So I think he'll have a very similar type of relationship with Cohen on the sideline. If he's going to be there, he might be up in the booth. If I were them, I'd probably want him right there talking to the quarterback when he comes off. So yeah, there's no question. I mean, this was very clearly somebody that O'Connell believed big time in. He made it very clear in every conversation he ever had with us. And I think what the Jaguars are looking for here is, you have a super talented quarterback, make the most of it. That's what the Vikings have done, right? Whether it was getting the most out of Kirk or getting the most out of Sam Darnold or developing J.J. McCarthy, this has been the quarterback factory since Kevin O'Connell got here. And that's exactly the type of attitude that you need there to get the most out of Trevor Lawrence.
Matthew, final question. Not to put words in your mouth, but you seem to be echoing a lot of what I've been reading and listening to this morning. People in Minneapolis liked Grant Udinski. People in Minneapolis are kind of sad to see Udinski go. They're happy for him, but they think it's going to hurt Minnesota a little bit. Seems like you think Jacksonville got a pretty good one here.
I think with both of these hires, with Cohen, because, just paying attention to Baker Mayfield is sort of a, connection to Sam Darnold. There's 2 guys drafted at the same time that struggled at some point in their career. And there's a similarity there, right, of taking a quarterback who has been through a lot of struggles, and the same thing for Trevor Lawrence, and figuring out what works for him. And I think that's what this group really does well. What Kevin O'Connell, Grant Udinski, Josh McCown, was kind of the big 3 of developing J.J. McCarthy, getting Sam Darnold ready, which is no easy task. They don't have 2-a-days anymore, remember? Like, these guys have a very limited amount of time. And J.J. McCarthy, I fully believe if he had to start week 1 last year, if he hadn't gotten hurt or they hadn't had Darnold, he would have been ready to do it because of this coaching staff. And then, look, they went out and won 14 games with Sam Darnold. Everybody looks pretty darn good, So I do think that Jacksonville nailed, I think that turning back and moving on from the GM was a good idea. And I think bringing in Cohen and Udinski is exactly what you're looking for when you have someone in place as talented as Trevor Lawrence. That's usually the hard part, right? The rest usually falls into place, but that doesn't mean it just happens automatically. It requires great coaching, and I think that now you have that, and there's an opportunity to really grow there.
Matthew Coller is our guy up in Minneapolis covering the Minnesota Vikings. Matthew, certainly appreciate the time on short notice. Thank you as always, pal. We'll do it again soon.
Sounds good. Thanks for having me.
I mean, look, the bottom line is I'm very high on this hire. Now, I would be lying to you if I knew who Grant Udinski really was before the last year or two. I had no idea he was ever in Carolina. But I remember looking at, like, the Sean McVay tree, or it was a story, I forget where it was like last year, roots off the Sean McVay tree. Because, again, Udinski isn't necessarily a Sean McVay guy. Udinski is a Kevin O'Connell guy who was off the Sean McVay tree. So that's where I saw the name last year. And one of my best friends, kind of was one of my best man at my wedding, is a diehard Minnesota Viking fan, my guy Drew. So I asked him about him, and he's like, look, they promoted him every year. So obviously where he was in 2022 to 23 to 24, Udinski got more on his plate, got better job titles, more responsibility every single year that he was in Minneapolis. So I think that speaks volumes as well. And you look at what Liam Cohen has done, right? It's all about relationships, man. And I'm going to ask Cecil Shorts, former Jaguar wide receiver, about this coming up in about 20, 25 minutes or so. He joins us right about the top of the 9 o'clock hour. You look at the two coordinators that Liam Cohen has hired. You go to Udinski, well, that's off the Kevin O'Connell staff in Minneapolis, where Cohen and O'Connell worked together in L.A. And you look at Anthony Campanile, who, by the way, talked to J.P. Shadrick earlier today, Jaguars.com. We're going to play some of that in just a moment. Campanile, where did he come from? He came from Green Bay. Who did he work for? Matt LaFleur. Guess who worked with Matt LaFleur in L.A.? Liam Cohen. So it's all about relationships, man. It's all about due process, obviously, do your due diligence. But at the end of the day, Liam Cohen probably reached out to Matt LaFleur and Kevin O'Connell, two guys he knows very, very well that are also off that Sean McVay tree, and ultimately hired two of their up-and-coming assistants, Campanile out of Green Bay and Udinski out of Minneapolis. So it goes back to what I said in the first segment, man. This is probably the first time in 23 years, and I'm being serious about this. Now, the Urban Meyer thing, I think if you're a Gator fan, you were excited. I knew a lot of Jaguar fans that couldn't stand Florida that hated that when that happened. I mean, hated that. I do think the Gators, if you will, fiercest animal on the planet. Still have the T-shirt somewhere at my house. I think if you were a Florida fan and a Jaguar fan, you were over the moon about Urban Meyer. You were pumped about it. I don't think a true Jaguar fan was very fired up. So if you take Urban out of the equation or even keep him in, I still think for the first time in 23 years, the Jaguars are making decisions that need to get you excited. I mean, how many people were excited about Jack Del Rio, honestly, when he was hired? He's a defensive guy. Now, he stayed here for a while. He's the second best coach in franchise history. It worked out well, but I don't think there was excitement there. No one was excited about Mike Mularkey. No offense to Mike, but no one was. Everybody knew that was going to happen with Gene Smith, and that was a one-year disaster. No one was excited about Gus Bradley, at least that I remember. And then when I saw them do the walk or the prowl or whatever that thing was, and they walked literally past a sign on game day that said, "We believe in getting better," I know we were in bad shape. I don't think many people were excited about Doug Marrone. Now, he had one terrific year in 2017, but by and large, he was gone, 2.5 years later. Then you had the Urban year, and Doug Peterson, a lot of you guys didn't want him. You wanted Byron Leftwich. Remember that? So, again, young offensive mind, young staff, both offense and defense, high energy, hungry. Any other verbiage you want to use, man, I'm on board. I'm happy about this because it's different than what they've done for the last 23 years. And an overwhelming majority of those last 23 years, I don't need to tell you guys this, have sucked. It hasn't been any fun being a Jaguar fan. It's not fun when you get your head kicked in every Sunday. Trust me, as a guy that does that fifth quarter postgame show, I want a lot more victories than I want losses. It's better for all parties involved if the Jaguars win, and they haven't won, particularly in the last 13 years. They've been the worst organization in football. And hopefully this young, energetic staff that Liam Cohen's putting together can change that. Could it have the exact opposite effect? Could they all fall on their face? Of course. That goes into the unknown that we've talked about, and you got to wait 7 months to figure that out, or at least start to figure that out. But for the next 7 months leading up to that, with the combine, free agency, the draft, OTAs, mini camp, training camp, the preseason, and ultimately opening day in September, I'm going to be as optimistic as I can because they're doing exactly what I've wanted them to do all along, or at least since Coughlin got fired. Bring in a young staff, bring in a hungry staff, bring in an all young offensive mind. And they have checked every single one of those boxes. For the first time in 2.5 decades, they've checked every one of those boxes in the last 2 weeks. One of those guys is Anthony Campanile. He did an interview with J.P. Shadrick of Jaguars.com earlier today. we'll play you some of the defensive coordinator's thoughts. I think a couple of things he said you might find pretty interesting. Also, more Jaguar talk. Again, the NFL Honors Program begins at 9 o'clock. Not sure when they will announce the Hall of Fame class. If they announce it before we go off the air, close to 10 o'clock, we will let you know. Again, Fred Taylor, for the second year in a row, is a finalist. I'm hoping for the best. I'm expecting it not to happen for Freddie T, but I'm hoping I'm wrong. Again, it's a pretty loaded class this year. There was only one running back, but there's a lot of really good players. Really good players. So we'll see. But it would be unbelievable if Fred went into Canton, Ohio alongside Tony Baselli. Unbelievable. And I do believe one day that will happen. I just have my doubts that it's going to happen in the next 90 minutes. 641-1010 on the text line is on by Lifetime Enclosures. Your thoughts are always welcome. More to do. Again, we'll hear Anthony Campanile, some of his thoughts earlier today from Jaguars.com, and former Jaguar, my buddy Cecil Shorts, former Jags wide receiver, joins me at the top of the 9 o'clock hour.
I did not see this one coming.
Radio play-by-play is like stepping in a theater in your mind.
As good as it gets.
1010XL, Jacksonville's home for play-by-play.
Hi, everybody. Mike Dempsey here for Awaken 180 Weight Loss. This Sunday's the big game. Look, don't blame me. This would be much easier if I could say this has finally come. Parties, football, libations, food, all the festivities we welcome every February. The question is, what if you're trying to lose weight but still enjoy watching this with friends? The answer? Nothing. As I've told you before, Awaken 180 is built for real-life scenarios. The reason Awaken 180 is now in their 9th year and growing nationally, the program works. Eat wings and meatballs while watching the Super Bowl. Have a beverage while betting on the Super Bowl. Live your life while enjoying the Super Bowl. I think you get the point. Whether you're in the weight loss phase or in free lifelong maintenance, Awaken 180 won't get in the way of enjoying the big game. Reserve your consultation today at awaken180weightloss.com or call 844-346-1800. That's 844-346-1800 for Awaken 180 Weight Loss.
Have you tried golfing at the improved Cimarron Golf Club? If you haven't, tell you what, you're missing out on the best deal in Jacksonville. Now, many of you have received a postcard in the mail, and of course, if you bring that with you, $45 plus tax to play. That includes a cart, lunch, and a beer at the brand new Stone Barrel Tap House. Now, go to the website, that is CimarronGolfClub.com, and sign up for the Wild One Loyalty Program. That's the Wild One Loyalty Program, and get all of these specials emailed to you from Cimarron.
Bueller, stay cooler with Bueller.
Hey, pal, what's the matter?
I don't know about this air conditioner, Jason.
You know, my job is actually to...
I mean, 1 minute it's working, and the next minute it's not working. And every time I leave the house, I don't know if I'm coming back to a nice, cool oasis or a steaming cesspool of sweaty garbage fumes and dog farts, and then I'll never get to sleep. And I'll be too late to call someone. And what if I've got a big meeting the next morning and I haven't slept a wink?
Okay, dude. Stay cool. Or at least stay cooler.
But
Bueller Air and Plumbing can figure out why your AC only works sometimes and not all the time. We fix that kind of stuff every day.
You mean you can...
Life moves pretty fast. If you spend all your time worrying about an air conditioner that can totally be fixed, you could miss it.
Stay cooler with Bueller.
Visit BuellerAir.com.
Taylor Doll here. Get your mammogram on the Buddy Bus Wednesday from 10 a.m. to 2 at the showroom of Renewal by Anderson Beach in San Pablo. Reserve your spot by calling 904-202-2499. 904-202-2499.
1010XL celebrates African Americans who positively impacted the First Coast. I'm RJ Saunders, and I'll share Black History Month stories with you throughout February. Black History Month on 1010XL is brought to you by Instant Keys and McGowan Spinal Rehabilitation Center.
Instant Keys. You don't have to go to the dealer. Instant Keys comes to you. Call 904-722-1111.
Instant Keys saves the day if you've lost or broken keys. They can program new keys and remotes for nearly every make and model of vehicle at a fraction of the dealership costs. Fast, honest, and reliable locksmith service. Call Instant Keys, 722-1111.
At the First Coast YMCA, you'll find much more than just a gym. We offer many ways to help you be active, reach weight loss goals, and find your inner strength while you connect with your community. Family memberships at the Y include unlimited group exercise classes, childcare while you work out, and youth sports participation. It's easy to join the Y and affordable for all. Plus, the Y is a great place to meet a new circle of friends. Visit the Y near you or online at fcymca.org.
Cannonball!
Honey, someone's in our pool.
Oh, refreshing.
John, what are you doing?
Oh, hey, Dave. Seeing as how me and the guys at Clearwater Irrigation reinstalled your sprinklers after the pool contractor ripped it out, I thought you wouldn't mind if I took a quick dip.
But in a Jaguar print Speedo?
Yeah, Dave. My bad.
Clearwater Irrigation. We can't sing a lick, but we sure are good at sprinklers.
And drainage, too.
Give a unique gift this Valentine's Day to that special person in your life with a custom-made candle or body care product from Wick, a candle bar. Locations in San Marco and Jax Beach.
Don't miss the big game specials at Southern Steer Butcher. Check out our website for the big game snack attack, party combo, sampler combo, and the best buffalo dip you've ever had.
For tasty tips and juicy breasts, choose Southern Steer Butcher.
You'll always feel good when you send someone a Kuhn Flowers floral or plant arrangement. This is Max Fink with 1010XL, and no matter what the reason, Kuhn Flowers has always come through for me. Order online at kuhnflowers.com.
Ackerman Urology is now servicing the World Golf Village area. If you have elevated PSA, prostate, bladder, or kidney issues, plan to see the experts at Ackerman Urology right away. Their new location off I-95 at International Golf Parkway.
Transform your bathroom with stunning shower glass from Sky Glass Solutions in Jacksonville Beach. For a free quote, call 904-608-5151 or visit skyglasssolutions.com.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Hacker After Dark on 1010XL.
You know, we've known each other for quite a while. Just working camps up in the Northeast, coaching football in college, I should say. But yeah, known each other over the years and kind of kept up with each other. And obviously, he's done an incredible job everywhere he's been.
That was Jaguars.com. Our buddy JP Shadrick interviewing Anthony Campanile, the brand new defensive coordinator for the Jacksonville Jaguars, about Campanile's relationship, past history with Jaguar head coach Liam Cohen. It goes back to what I talked about, man. It is all about relationships. And again, Campanile, 1 year with Matt LaFleur in Green Bay. Who did Liam Cohen work with in L.A.? Only worked a couple of years with Matt LaFleur. It's funny how that happens, right? And so Campanile now is the Jaguars' defensive coordinator, and a lot of responsibility. I mean, look, when you have an offensive guy as your head coach, and definitely when you have an offensive guy that's also going to be the play caller, there's going to be a lot on a defensive coordinator's plate, right? And it was interesting talking to Dave Campo, former head coach of the Dallas Cowboys, on Monday, as we do every night, Monday Night Coaching with Campo. He's a defensive guy. It was kind of reversed. Cohen's offense, but Camp's was defense, Dave Campo. And he said one of the biggest, I guess, regrets he had about his time in Dallas is he was too much with the defense. He maybe didn't spend enough time with the offense. Cohen is obviously going to be spending a lot of time on offense, right? I mean, that's what he is. That's his bread and butter, and he's going to be calling the plays, making the game plan along with Udinski and Spencer Whipple and all these guys, Shane Waldron, all these guys they've added. So I do believe that Cohen will be involved to an extent defensively, but that's Anthony Campanile's barbecue, man. I mean, that's his world. He's going to be the defensive guy. That's why you hire. You hire a guy you trust to run the defense. So let's hear a little bit more from Anthony Campanile. Again, Jaguars.com. He sat down with JP Shadrick earlier today. Flat out, let's just find out, what was it about the Jaguars that led him here?
Just really, honestly, the biggest thing was I felt really good about the roster here. Felt really good about the people here. My relationship with Liam, that was awesome. The whole interview process was awesome. The other thing is just it's a tough city. There's tough people here, and we're going to have a tough defense. So to me, that was an important part of it, the following of the fans. So just super excited for the whole thing.
The defense was terrible last year. All right, let's not sugarcoat it. This is the no spin zone, right? The defense was awful. But they obviously have pieces. Look, I know Joshua Hines-Allen did not have the year that we all hoped he would have after the contract. But you don't get 17 sacks in an NFL season unless you're really, really good at what you do. Unless you're immensely talented. So Joshua Hines-Allen, I think, will respond in 2025. Trayvon Walker, back-to-back double-digit sack seasons. Say what you will about Trayvon Walker, and a lot of national people have, but that's the first double-digit sack seasons back-to-back in a Jaguar uniform since Calais Campbell in 17 and 18. Trayvon Walker has played well the last 2 years. Mason Smith actually showed a little something towards the end of the year. He was a disappointment through about Thanksgiving, right? And he wasn't getting on the field, and I really don't know why. There was something about an ankle, but I don't think that was entirely the reason, or not all of the reason. But then once Mason Smith got an opportunity in December, he did enough to make you intrigued about him, or at least make me intrigued about him. Eric Armstead was bad. He was not good. It was a bad year for Eric Armstead. One would think the only direction he could go is up, right? That's barring injury, he's not going to play any worse. Was he put in the right position? Apparently he doesn't think so, based on that end-of-season presser that he did in the locker room a month ago. And then you throw in, the Devon Hamiltons of the world, second year for Jordan Jefferson. There are pieces. Is it great? No, of course not. But it's not like the foundation's bare. Love Foye-Oluokun at linebacker, have zero issue with him. Love what I saw at times out of Ventrell Miller, although I think Ventrell was much better in September and October than he was in November and December. And I'm very intrigued what Campanile could do with Devin Lloyd. Very intrigued. Because Campanile is given credit for turning around some linebackers in Green Bay that were not doing a good job. He's given credit by Quay Walker's one of them, Edge Cooper's another one. So can Campanile have that kind of effect on Devin Lloyd here in Jacksonville? We'll hear a little more from the Jaguar defensive coordinator coming up in just a bit. Again, Anthony Campanile, thank you to Jaguars.com for bringing us that. He sat down with J.P. Shadrick earlier today. Coming up next, my buddy Cecil Shorts, former wide receiver for your Jacksonville Jaguars. Let's talk about the coaching staff coming together. Let's talk about Tony Baselli being the EVP of football operations. Cecil was 29 when he retired. What does he think about Grant Udinski being 29 and the new offensive coordinator? And we will talk a little bit about Super Bowl 59. Cecil Shorts joins me next on a Thursday evening here in Northeast Florida. We're glad you're with us on Hacker After Dark. It's 1010XL and it's 92.5 FM.
They came together as a team.
Joe Coward.
Are you like me?
Matt Hayes.
Let's keep this between us.
And Leon Searcy.
Bring it in.
XL Prime Time.
Call for one for all.
2 to 4 weekdays on 1010XL. Now you can watch 1010XL shows all day on X, Facebook, and YouTube. Brought to you by MyBookie. Experience Vegas from the comfort of your phone anytime, anywhere. Sign up today. Use promo code 1010XL.
Hey folks, Rick Ballou here for John's Auto. They've been a staple in Jacksonville going all the way back to 1985. At John's Auto, they service all makes, all models, cars, trucks, diesel, you name it, they do it. Whether it's routine maintenance or a complete engine overhaul. Call John's Auto on Arlington Road. That's 904-743-3857 or go to johnsautomotivejacks.com.
If you're 55 and up, T-Mobile has plans built just for you. 2 lines of unlimited for just $30 a line. That's a 45% savings compared to Verizon and AT&T. But don't just take our word for it.
It's not just the savings that are great with our T-Mobile plan. There's all this value from all these other things that T-Mobile offers.
T-Mobile has been such a savings for us.
We love it.
Switch today and get 2 free 5G phones like the Motorola Edge with Turbo Power charging that gives you power for the day in just 15 minutes. And customers 55 and up can get 2 lines of talk, text, and data for only $30 a line. Go to T-Mobile.com/choice55 to learn more. With AutoPay plus taxes and fees, plus $5 per line without AutoPay. Debit or bank account required. 45% off 2 lines versus AT&T Starter and Verizon Welcome. Plan benefits vary. Motorola Edge on us with 24 monthly bill credits and new line for well-qualified customers, plus tax and $35 per line connection charge. See details at T-Mobile.com. Motorola Edge requires 68-watt charger. Charger sold separately. Actual performance will vary based on usage and configuration.
When it comes to towing products, your safety is the priority at Cannons of Jacksonville. Cannons has decades of experience to ensure your towing setup is installed with precision and reliability. Visit cannonsofjacks.com, your trusted partner for a smoother tow.
It's game time for your business, and Advanced Business Solutions has the winning play. With Xerox copiers, you'll never miss a deadline. Fast, reliable, and built for high performance, Xerox copiers keep your team ahead of the competition. From printing to scanning, Xerox brings the MVPs of efficiency to your office. Ready to make the winning move? Hire the champions at Advanced Business Solutions. Better known.
Printers, copiers, and IT management. Advanced Business Solutions.
Rick Ballou for Carlson Dental. You know, I've been telling you this for quite some time because it's true. I hate going to the dentist, or at least I used to hate going to the dentist. I had total anxiety, and then I tried sedation, light sedation for cleaning and deep sedation as well for cavities and root canals. Folks, it's an incredible experience. So don't be nervous. Don't be scared. Go to carlsondentalgroup.com. That's carlsondentalgroup.com for all of your dental needs.
It's time to get up and go to the Jacksonville RV Mega Show, Thursday through Sunday, February 6th through 9th at the Jacksonville Equestrian Center. It's Northeast Florida's largest RV show with hundreds of RVs on display, lifestyle booths, plus win $250 gift cards every day. Adults $10, kids under 12 free. Seniors get half off on Thursday. Military and first responders half off every day. Thursday through Saturday 9 to 5, Sunday 9 to 4. The Jacksonville RV Mega Show.
What NFL stadium has been used the longest by an NFL team?
Filing an insurance claim following a storm shouldn't be an ordeal. Southern Oak Insurance's claim team prepares for catastrophic situations well in advance. Log on to southernoak.com.
Our family protecting yours. Southern Oak Insurance.
Green Bay's Lambeau Field has been used by the Packers since 1957, a span of over 60 years.
Southern Oak Insurance. Our family protecting yours.
WJXL AM Jacksonville Beach. WJXL FM Jacksonville Beach.
Is your dog Team Rough or Team Fluff? It's officially Puppy Bowl season at Dogtopia Jacksonville Beach Boulevard. They're getting MVPs, most valuable pups, ready for the big game. Your dog deserves a tail-wagging day of fun, and Dogtopia's indoor playrooms are the perfect training ground for their game day moment. Get your dog in on all the action by visiting Dogtopia Jacksonville Beach Boulevard and St. John's Bluff. New to the pack? Enjoy a free day of daycare. Mention Puppy Bowl when booking to claim the offer.
Yo, E.T. here, and don't let Valentine's Day sneak up on you. Plan the perfect romantic getaway in Clay County. Stay at one of Clay's beautiful Airbnbs or in luxury at Club Continental, a boutique riverfront retreat, and treat your special someone to an unforgettable dinner at the Hilltop Restaurant. Trust me on this one. Clay County is the perfect spot for romance. Start planning today at exploreclay.com and tag those romantic moments with hashtag ExploreClay.
Visit Monahan Jewelers now through Valentine's Day for savings on all GIA certified diamonds and discounts store-wide up to 40% off. And interest-free financing on all purchases. Certified diamonds, gemstones, engagement rings, diamond studs, designer brands. Monahan's has it all. We're not a chain store. We're your local family jeweler since 1977 with a world-class inventory of fine jewelry and diamonds and gemstones available in any size. Support your local family jeweler now through Valentine's with huge savings in our inventory. Monahan Jewelers in Atlantic Beach.
1010XL is presented by Farrah & Farrah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville.
Back here on 1010XL at 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville. We are glad you are with us. Well, another day, another big story for the Jacksonville Jaguars. What an offseason it's been. We're over a month into it, and there seemingly is big news coming out every single day. As we found out within the last 24 hours that Grant Udinski, the 29-year-old, formerly of the Minnesota Vikings, is now the brand new offensive coordinator for your Jacksonville Jaguars. Let's talk about the hire. Let's talk about the staff that's coming together, including Tony Baselli now being the EVP of football operations, and let's talk about a Super Bowl that will be played on Sunday in New Orleans. My buddy Cecil Shorts, former wide receiver for the Jacksonville Jaguars, joins us every week here on 1010XL. Cecil, how are you, my friend?
I'm well, RG. You hit me with some news this morning. I'm just peeking at it right now. It seems like the offseason just started, or it's in the first part of it, and it's news every other week for Jacksonville. So it's a lot to talk about, I see.
Yeah, it's absolutely wild, man. All right, now I did my math on this. Now, I'm not Mount Union smart, Cecil. I'm a UNF smart. But I know that you retired after 7 years in the league, which means you retired right about the age of 29. Can you imagine being an offensive coordinator in the NFL at 29 years old? Grant Udinski, I don't know a lot about him. I'm learning. But man alive, kind of a whiz kid. He got a lot of interviews, and he ultimately lands the OC job here in Jacksonville.
To answer your first question, no. And then I played in the league, and I couldn't imagine at that age being able to put together everything that's needed to run a offense efficiently, right? Now, the good thing about Grant, he's young and he's hungry. Right. So I'm excited about that. And then we also know Liam is going to be one calling plays. Like Liam's going to be the one calling the shots. And he's going to hold control of that until he feels like he's able to hand it to Grant. So, I look at it from a standpoint, he wanted to bring in somebody hungry. He wanted to bring in somebody extremely smart, extremely, that's kind of a wizard, bringing somebody that's extremely creative, that can put things together to help Trevor be the best he can be. So I'm excited about that. My only, it's not concern, is it's like a placeholder position. I don't look too hard into it. I'm like, Liam's calling the plays. Like, Liam is the one in charge. Liam is the one that's going to be calling the plays to Trevor and game planning, and they're all game planning together. But I just don't see him letting that go to Grant anytime soon. Like, for the next year, 2 years, I think Liam will be calling the plays because he's fresh out of it himself. He's still young himself, honestly. What is he, 39, I think he is? So for me, even though he's the offensive coordinator at such a young age, he won't be actually calling the plays in a game still for some years to come.
People in Minnesota rave about him. Udinski also interviewed for, I think, the Seattle OC job. He was involved in the New England OC search as well. So he had a lot of interviews this offseason. And Cecil, you talk about relationships in the NFL, and you look at what Liam Cohen's done with both hires. He goes and gets Anthony Campanile from Green Bay. Well, who was Campanile's head coach in Green Bay? Matt LaFleur, a guy that Liam Cohen worked with in Los Angeles. Now you see Grant Udinski from Minnesota is Liam's OC. Well, who did Udinski just work with? Kevin O'Connell, who Liam knew from his time in Los Angeles. I mean, obviously, those relationships played a big part in this.
Man, relationships is everything in life, but in coaching, it's all about who you know and who you can trust. So he's making phone calls. He heard about Grant. He probably met him before. He talked to different guys about different people. And if he hasn't ran into them personally, he has people around that he trusts to say, hey, yeah, this is your guy. Go after him. Or this is not your guy. Don't go get him, right? It's literally all relationships. The NFL is so small. So small. It seems like it's humongous, but it's so small. Everybody knows each other or knows somebody that knows somebody. So relationships are key, especially when it comes to coaching. Now, the thing is about relationships, you got to trust these guys to work their butt off. That's why I think he's going with the younger guys. Because younger guys are usually more hungry. They're excited. They're creative. They have all these ideas. And what you need to do most is you need to not fix your quarterback, but make sure number 16 is ready to rock and roll. How can you get him to be the best he can be? And by doing that, you bring in all these young guys, and the excitement is there. They're going to bring the energy every day. So I'm excited to see how he's building his staff.
Former Jaguar wide receiver Cecil Shorts here with us. Cecil, to your point, like we said, 8 coaches that are on staff so far with Liam Cohen. Average age is 38, and I believe the oldest guy is 43. So to me, that's going to go one of two ways, right? This is going to either be really good or it might be really bad, and I'm not sure if there's going to be a whole lot of gray area. I'm hoping it's the former and not the latter.
I'm with you, man. I think, and he's not done putting the staff together, right?
No, there's still a lot of positions that need to be filled. But I mean, you look at the offensive staff. Cohen's 39.
Yeah.
Spencer Whipple, his quarterback coach, is 35, and he just hired a 29-year-old to be his OC. I mean, that's wild.
I think. Well, this is my thing. You're bringing guys in. Hopefully, they're professional. Hopefully, doing their job well. The experience piece. It's hard, right? You only get experience by getting experience. So as the games go on, hopefully they'll get that experience and get better and better and better at their craft or whatever their specific responsibility is. But you're right. It's different being a young guy than a guy's been a veteran and been around and knows the ins and outs. So there'll be some times where they bump their head. Like, let's just prepare for that. Let's just hope it's not that much and they can recover from it quickly.
Former Jaguar wide receiver Cecil Shorts. Cecil, another former Jaguar, was in the news earlier this week. Tony Baselli named the EVP of football operations here in Jacksonville. As a former Jaguar yourself, what was your reaction to that Baselli news?
Few things. Number one, just for Tony, he was always extremely nice to me when I was playing. As far as face-to-face conversation, he was always great, giving advice, one of the best for the organization, best for the team. I'm very excited for him. Like, I want him to, he always is, I look at him as a Jaguar. I know he played on other teams. I look at him as the Jaguar. Like he is the guy when I look at the Jacksonville Jaguars. So I'm super excited for him. Great opportunity, and hope he does extremely well. But I'm also excited for the organization as a whole, because now I feel like Shad Khan has somebody he can trust officially in his ear, right? So he can officially be communicating with Shad and say, hey, this is what we need to do. This is what we need to go after. This one needs to happen. This, and this. So I'm excited to have a football guy that has the best interest in Jacksonville, that knows what the fans want, knows what Duval County wants, and truly has the best in his mind for Jacksonville. So I think all around it's a really, really good hire for Tony and the organization.
And to that point, and look, your voice speaks volumes. 7 years in the NFL, you obviously have a great perspective. Look, everybody that gets hired, I assume, wants to win, right? That job is to win. But there is something to be said about having a passion for the franchise you're working for. You look at D'Amico Ryans, right? A former Texan, goes out to Houston as the head coach. People love him out there. He knows the Texan, way, if you will. Baselli, the same thing. As you said, he's like Mr. Jaguar, the first draft pick, obviously the first Hall of Famer. Tony does not have to do this. Goodness knows. He's got a lot of things he could be doing. He wants this job. And that, to me, Cecil, is the reason a lot of people are excited about this.
Man, to me, it's a perfect marriage. Like, he knows Duval. He knows what the city wants. He understands football. He's been around the league forever. He knows what's good and what's bad for the organization, what's going to work for the organization and what's not. So for me, I truly believe this is just a great opportunity all around for the organization and Tony, man. It's going to be a really cool thing to watch. Final moments with former Jaguar wide receiver Cecil Shorts. Cecil, let's get to a football game. It's going to be played on Sunday, Super Bowl 59. I talked about this earlier this week. Patrick Mahomes has 17 career playoff wins. If you combine Justin Herbert, C.J. Stroud, Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow, and Josh Allen, they combined have 17 playoff wins. Mahomes is going to try to become the only quarterback ever to three-peat as a world champion. He would tie Terry Bradshaw and Joe Montana by getting his fourth ring. I mean, Cecil, you played 7 years, as we mentioned. I look at him as a media guy, Mahomes, and I marvel at him. Well, what do you see when you see Patrick Mahomes? Unhuman.
Yeah.
He was his 7th year in the league, RG, and he's been to 4 or 5 Super Bowls. Like, it's just not normal to see, for us to watch him every single week. It's not normal for us to and I don't think we appreciate his greatness all the way. I speak for myself. I don't appreciate it because, like, I'm to the point now where I'm like, man, I want somebody else to win it. But I have to appreciate him being so good each and every game, being so good each and every playoff run, being so good in each and every Super Bowl. It's like the Chiefs are never out of it because of Patrick Mahomes. And he's been good since the time he stepped on the field in his second year in the league. Like, think about the Chiefs for a second. That was an MVP type season for Alex Smith. They drafted Mahomes that same year, right? And he had a great year, Alex Smith did. They let him go and traded him because they thought of the world of Patrick Mahomes, and they were right. They weren't just right. That was a that was a franchise-changing move. Alex Smith had a career year that year. You trade him to Washington, let him go. You bring in the second-year guy from Texas Tech, a gunslinger, and your life changed. Your organization changed. Like, he is on his way, not there yet, on his way to be the best football player to ever play, on his way to be the best quarterback to ever play if he continues to do what we think he can do as far as just play really well all the time. So it's special to watch him, and I'm trying my best not to take it for granted.
He's trying to do something Brady could never do, win 3 world titles in a row. That brings us to Andy Reid. Cecil, I'm not so sure if Andy Reid wins on Sunday that there isn't a legit conversation to be had about him being the best head coach of all time. I mean, with respect to Bill Belichick, Andy Reid, with what he's done in Kansas City, never mind the 4 consecutive NFC Championship game appearances he had in Philadelphia. I mean, the guy is – Andy Reid's incredible.
If he doesn't three-peat, he has to be in the conversation. And then you got to look at his history, what he was able to do with Philadelphia. I mean, the winning he was able to do. And I don't think he ever won one in Philadelphia, but how he was winning. And then when he came to Kansas City, the offensive mind, just how he was able to see different things and then put together. And it seems like it doesn't matter who's on offense, but put together a team that wins a three-peat if they do this. That's incredible. First time ever. That Andy Reid has to be in the conversations of best coach ever, as best head coach ever. And he's solidified himself as he probably already was a Hall of Famer, but he solidified himself as definitely one of the best coaches that win or lose on Sunday. His ability to be able to communicate, to have fun, to have his guys play for him, to be able just to put guys in and out. They had multiple receivers this year, multiple tight ends, multiple running backs in the game, and they figure out ways to use them, and they produce, and it's just amazing. And it helps to have 15 back there as well. And it helps to have Spags as your defensive coordinator, who does tremendous back there. So he does a good job putting his staff together, putting his team together, and really trusting his guys to play well.
Final moments, former Jaguar wide receiver Cecil Short. Cecil, quickly to Philadelphia before we get a prediction from you. Look, they're not sexy when it comes to what they do, but they just beat the crap out of you, right? I mean, Saquon Barkley and that offensive line, that D-line. Look, I don't know a lot about football. No one's ever going to confuse me to be the smartest football guy. But I know Philadelphia's drafted a bunch of big guys in the last couple of years. And those big guys, particularly the Jalen Carters of the world, the Jordan Davises of the world, they seem to be working out pretty well for the Philadelphia Eagles. Your thoughts on Philly and their chances on Sunday?
They got some really good chances. I truly do. I think when you look at the bruisers they have up front on the O-line and the D-line, that's where they separate themselves. They stop the run, and they can run the ball consistently. Saquon and the Eagles offensive line were like a perfect marriage. Like, it was literally perfect. And people are all excited about Saquon possibly. I think it was between the Texans and the Eagles at the end point, right? And the Eagles just made more sense to him and gave him a little bit more money. But I'm like, that was the perfect situation. I don't know if he would have came Houston or anywhere else that he would have had the success he had this year because of how good the offensive line is, the threat that you have from your quarterback and running the football and Jalen Hurts. It's just so much that goes into it. The weapons outside. They have a complete team. They just win ugly. They know how to win the tough game. They know what they are and who they are as an offense and a defense. They're going to be physical. They're going to be bruising. They're going to pound the ball with either Saquon Barkley or a tush push with Jalen Hurts. It does not matter. They're going to run the football. The question is, can Kansas City stop it? And that's what's going to determine the game, in my opinion.
All right, see, so I've said all week, if we did a schoolyard pick'em, I would imagine a top 10, probably 6 or 7 of the first 10 will be Philadelphia Eagle players, right? I think the Eagles have the better roster. I think the Eagles on paper are the better team. I'm not picking against Patrick Mahomes. I'm just not going to do it. What is your thought? Who wins the game on Sunday?
My heart says Philly because I'm a Mount Union guy. Nick Sirianni went to Mount Union, so I'm rooting for him. I want to see Jalen Hurts get it. I want to see Saquon. It's like a cool story, like a perfect story ending for him. But my soul says Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs. My soul. If I was a betting man, I'm not betting against Patrick Mahomes. What do I look like? Like, what is, that's silly. So I'm gonna say Kansas City wins 27-24. They get the ball last, and they figure out a way to win, as they always do. 3-peat for the first time in NFL history.
Let's hope it's a terrific game. Eagles-Chiefs, Super Bowl 59 coming up on Sunday. Former Jaguar wide receiver Cecil Shorts. Cecil, we'll have you on next week to review the game, and who knows, by that point, the Jaguars still need a general manager, right? I mean, the news is not going to stop here in Jacksonville. We always appreciate you, pal. We'll talk soon.
Thanks, RG. Take care.
1010XL's Dan Hicken dominated Folio Weekly's Best of 2024. Best TV sports anchor, Dan Hicken. Best radio sports anchor, Dan Hicken. Best radio sports show starring Dan Hicken. 1010XL, the home of Dan Hicken.
Blue here for the Blue Crab House, located right off of San Jose. It's on Jewington Creek Road. They've been around since 1996. Indoor-outdoor dining. Also, takeout is available at the Blue Crab House. Open 4:30 to 9, Tuesday through Saturday. Sunday, noon until 9. Remember, Tuesday, $2 margaritas. Wednesday, $1 oyster night. How about the blue crabs? How about my personal favorite, the Canadian snow crabs? Whatever it is that you fancy, you get it right there. The Blue Crab House.
This Black History Month profile is brought to you by McGowan Spinal Rehabilitation Center. Known better by his nickname Truck, Brains High School legend Leonard Robinson used his rugged body and intelligent playmaking to become one of the game's best forwards in the 70s and 80s. Following a dominant career at Tennessee State University, Robinson was taken by the Washington Bullets in the second round of the '74 NBA draft. During his time in the league, he would average 16 points per contest to go along with 9 rebounds and was named an All-Star twice.
This is your Mad Dad's Update with Chapter President Donald Ford. In our effort to curb crime, drugs, and violence during the summer months, we are offering Friday Night Lights. It has already started and will be going until school starts back. It is every Friday night from 6:30 to 9:30 at the Blacktop, 5732 Normandy Boulevard, and behind the Potter's House Christian Academy. We manage 3 basketball courts. You are not running on the cement. We have covering on each court. The Lakers, the Magic, and the Heat. Ages 15 to 40 years old. This will give them something to do other than selling drugs and getting into trouble. We have monitors there giving leadership. We have to wake up, stand up, and speak up. Hit me on Facebook and tell me what you think. Or MattDadJacksonville.com.
I'm here with Danny Van Sickle, Director of the Electrical Training Alliance. Danny, tell me about your program.
Hey, Rick, we're a 4-year electrical apprenticeship. Our students start out making over $40,000 a year and right now make over $90,000 a year, including benefits. There is no tuition or student debt. You just have to apply and get accepted.
Did you say no tuition and no student debt?
You heard that right, Rick. Once you're accepted to the program, your only cost for the books and the course fees, about $800 a year.
That sounds like an amazing opportunity. How can I learn more?
Just go to etajax.org and you can apply there.
Apply by May 15th.
This Date in Sports History is brought to you by Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
On February 6, 1958, future Baseball Hall of Fame outfielder Ted Williams becomes the highest paid player in the MLB, re-signing with the Boston Red Sox for $135 grand.
Are you embarrassed by your ugly, cracked concrete driveway? Stop by Stone Core on Phillips Highway for all your outdoor living needs. Let them show you how a durable paver driveway can enhance your home. Visit stonecore.co. We do outdoors better.
Mia here. You want to know what I'm so over? Resolutions. You want to know what I am into? The revolution, hitting the road in a new Toyota from Arlington Toyota. So what do you say? Join the Arlington Toyota revolution and save big with financing as low as 0% on select new models. Or get up to $8,500 off select new Toyotas. Plus, every new Toyota purchase from Arlington Toyota comes with Arlington's lifetime warranty and 60-day exchange. Shop in person on Atlantic Boulevard, just a quarter mile east of 295 or at arlingtontoyota.com. Visit arlingtontoyota.com/0% for full details.
This is Hayes Carline here to help you break free from the chains of pest infestation. The talk of this town is Kingfish Pest Control. By now, many of your neighbors have already joined the Kingfish Revolution, leaving their homes and lawns protected and pest-free. Now it's your turn. Call Kingfish Pest Control and say goodbye to termites, ants, mosquitoes, and other annoying pests. Trust me, you'll get exceptional service and understand why your neighbors and I use Kingfish Pest Control, proud partner of the Jaguars.
Hey, this is Bert Cannon with the First Coast YMCA. Youth sports at the Y can help nurture your future athlete's potential and experience the joy of being a kid. At the Y, we're providing a safe, clean, and fun environment with basketball, soccer, volleyball, gymnastics, elite skills training, and more. Best of all, participation in Legacy Youth Sports League is free with your family membership. Visit fcymca.org to learn all about youth sports at the Y.
Have you got concrete or asphalt rubble piling up? Arcosa Crushed Concrete will pay you for it and recycle it. They're just minutes from Everbank Stadium on Talleyrand. Call Arcosa Crushed Concrete and get paid for what you don't need. ArcosaCrushedConcrete.com.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Hacker After Dark on 1010XL.
Yes, it is. With you till 10 o'clock, as we are every night. Hacker After Dark right here on 1010XL, 92.5 FM. Coming up in about 15 minutes. My buddy David Waters is the host of the Gators Breakdown podcast. David's done a really good job with that podcast over the years. And in fact, he had Florida football coach Billy Napier on his podcast about a week ago, a little less than a week ago now. So we'll talk with David Waters about the Florida offseason. We'll recap the conversation he had with Billy Napier. That comes up in about 15 minutes or so. The NFL Honors Award Show going on tonight. Again, all eyes here in Jacksonville on the Hall of Fame. Fred Taylor, one of the 15 finalists. They haven't announced it yet. I don't know if they're going to announce it when we're still on the air. This show just started at 9 o'clock. I believe it goes up to 11. I can tell you this, though. I don't know anything. My assumption is, though, this is probably not the year for Fred Taylor, just because it's been awfully quiet on that front. The year Baselli got in, we didn't necessarily know anything, and if we did, we were probably not supposed to say anything anyway. But there was chatter behind the scenes, I guess, and I didn't know without a shadow of a doubt until it was announced. But there was a little more noise in the system, if you will, a couple of years back. There's just been not a lot of noise regarding Fred, which I think is a shame, because I do believe he's a Hall of Famer. I think he deserves to be in the Hall of Fame, and I believe he will get to the Hall of Fame one day. I just have my doubts that it's going to be announced tonight. Hopefully I'm wrong. We'll see. If it is announced when we're still on the air, we will let you know. Again, they have not done it yet. They did announce the AP Rookie of the Year for offense, which was Jaden Daniels. No surprise there. Jaden Daniels was exceptional. Interesting that of the 50 votes, Jaden Daniels got all but one. He got 49 of the 50 votes. The only other offensive rookie that received a vote was Brock Bowers. So no Malik Neighbors, no Caleb Williams, obviously no Brian Thomas Jr. For that matter, Bucky Irving. Bucky Irving was sensational as well. A lot of good offensive rookies. Yet Jaden Daniels, 49 votes. Brock Bowers, 1. And then Pat Surtain of the Denver Broncos announced as the AP Defensive Player of the Year. Denmark, shame on me. Now, obviously on Sundays, we're engrossed in Jaguar football, and that's where we spend a large majority of our time. I obviously know Pat Surtain is a phenomenal player, probably the best defensive back in the league. AP Defensive Player of the Year? Did he have a year that warranted that? I guess he did, right?
I guess. I mean, I know Denver's defense was pretty good this year. But, I mean, I don't even know any of the other guys that they could have voted for than, like, your pass rushers like Myles Garrett or T.J. Watt. Like, Trey Hendrickson led the league in sacks, and his team started 4-8 and didn't make the playoffs.
Yeah, and he wants out of Cincinnati for the second year in a row. He's doing that again. No, I hear you. I mean, Surtain wins it. Congrats for him. Great player. I was just, when I saw that AP Defensive Player of the Year, I was like, wow, that's something. Quickly, we're going to do a little bit on the NFL, a little bit on college athletics as well. I'll tell you this. You know who's going to make a lot of money when his football career is over, and he's made a ton of money already? Jameis Winston is hilarious. Fox Sports has hired Jameis Winston this week to be like their correspondent. And you saw him doing his thing at opening night where he was asking Saquon Barkley who he should sign with in free agency, and he was interacting with a lot of his peers in the league. This guy had a Jaguar feel. Fox Sports sent Jameis Winston out to the Kismet, the Shad Khan yacht that's in New Orleans. There's about a 2-minute video that Fox put online about 90 minutes ago. Jameis is a funny dude, man. Regardless of what you think about him as a player, former number 1 overall pick, obviously has not lived up to the hype he had coming in. I've always liked Jameis Winston. It's amazing how a change of uniform can kind of change your opinion on a guy. But man, he's a good one when it comes to the off the cuff stuff, the funny stuff. And I got to tell you, Denmark, I think Jameis Winston, one of these networks is going to pay him something in the next couple of years, and he's going to be a media star.
Yeah, it probably won't be a network. Probably be more like a podcast kind of thing. I mean, that's just where everything's going. I mean, Colin Cowherd's got a major podcast platform, and they got one of the best NBA pods with Jeff Teague. I don't know if you ever see clips from that.
I have seen clips from that, yeah.
Jeff Teague and the dudes that he's with are hysterical. So it'd probably be something like that. And it's not something where you sit down and you talk football with Jameis. Like, it's going to be something where he's just going to go out and about like he is right now during the week of the Super Bowl and just do whatever he wants to do. I mean, he's out there talking to a funnel cake and driving around and running to a horse and doing all kind of crazy things. So yeah, he's probably gonna make more money in media than he is in his playing career.
All you got to do is search Jameis Winston on social media, and the Kismet clip will come up. It's pretty funny. It's worth your time if you're a Jaguar fan. They did update the AP Offensive Rookie of the Year voting, by the way. Brian Thomas did not receive any first-place votes. He did finish 4th, though. Jaden Daniels, Brock Bowers, the only 2 that received first-place votes. Bo Nix, who was phenomenal this year, as it was overshadowed by Jaden Daniels, but Bo Nix had a great year. He was 3rd. Brian Thomas was the only other guy that did receive some 2nd and 3rd place votes. Brian Thomas finishes 4th overall, ahead of Malik Neighbors, ahead of Marvin Harrison. I don't know, Denmark, how many people would have predicted that at the beginning of the year, that Brian Thomas Jr. would be the most accomplished wide receiver in this rookie class. And by all indications, going into 2025, I think he probably has the most hype around him coming into this year.
Yeah, probably. I mean, we'll have to see what the Giants do with their quarterback and a couple of these receivers. Marvin Harrison Jr. was expected to be the guy that was going to by far and away be the best one, and he kind of had a letdown year. But yeah, I mean, Brian Thomas Jr. does look like the best of the ones right now, and I mean, it's just the receiver, class. That receiver class is probably going to go down as one of the better ones, maybe in draft history. I mean, the next couple of years is going to be pretty crazy for a lot of those guys.
You look at Marvin Harrison Jr., Malik Neighbors, Ladd McConkey, who was very good with the Chargers. Obviously, Brian Thomas Jr. Even guys like Xavier Legette in Carolina had moments, right? Brock Bowers isn't a receiver, but he's a receiving tight end. He was sensational as well. And then you look at the quarterbacks, from Jaden Daniels to Bo Nix, Caleb Williams gets sprinkled in there. J.J. McCarthy didn't even play, and he was the top 15 pick. Bucky Irving was phenomenal as a running back in Tampa. Boy, it was a good year for offensive rookies. Absolutely no question about that. By the way, the offensive player of the year was just announced, and it's Saquon Barkley. Man, we got to go quick here because we got David Waters coming up. I'm going to pick Kansas City. I'm just going to do it. But the longer this goes on, the longer the week gets, or the closer we get to the game, I guess is a better way to say it. I'm just thinking about the Philadelphia Eagles line of scrimmage, that O-line, that D-line, Saquon Barkley. They're just going to try to beat the crap out of the Kansas City Chiefs up front on the line of scrimmage. Those are the kind of teams that can beat Kansas City, man. Finesse teams will never beat them. But remember, Tampa Bay, those 2 offensive tackles for Kansas City were hurt. The Buccaneer D-line got after them. The Buccaneers were able to run the ball with Fournette in that game. These are the type of teams that beat KC. Will they do it? I don't know. I'm probably not picking against Mahomes. But seeing Saquon Barkley, the season he put together behind that offensive line, you got weapons on the outside with Devonta Smith, A.J. Brown, Jalen Hurts, obviously. Maybe I'm not giving enough love, enough credibility to Philadelphia. It's just impossible for me to pick against Patrick Mahomes. But we'll do more analysis on that game tomorrow. Again, Super Bowl 59 comes up on Sunday, Philadelphia and Kansas City. Coming up next, let's go to David Waters, host of the Gators Breakdown podcast. He had Billy Napier on his podcast a couple of days ago. We'll talk to David about the conversation he had with the Florida head football coach, and we'll talk a little Gator off season. The Gators are already, 2.5 months removed from their final regular season game. They're almost 2 months removed now from their bowl game. How would we assess the offseason in Gainesville to this point? David Waters of the Gators Breakdown podcast joins me next Thursday night, Hacker After Dark. Glad you're with us right here on 1010XL and on 92.5 FM.
Radio for Jacksonville by people who live and love Jacksonville.
That's right. That's exactly what it means.
1010XL, Bold City Radio.
Baloo here for Smoonez Vision. Why Smoonez Vision? Well, I've been with Dr. Neil Smoonez now since I got back to Jacksonville in 2006. 37 years of experience he has. Smoonez Vision is a family organization that focuses on personal high-quality medical and surgical eye care. Dr. Catherine Smoonez is fellowship trained in cornea and cataract surgery and all refractive surgery. Combined, that's 30 years plus in laser eye surgery. Visit SmoonezVision.com today. Here you can see.
Awaken 180 weight loss. Awaken 180 weight loss. Hacker here for the best weight loss program I've ever been on. You know, I got more people coming up to me every day saying, Hacker, this New Year's resolution I had, it's not working, man. I tried to do it my way. It's just same old, same old. In fact, I have a buddy of mine that I gave the info to for Awaken 180 because I see the results in my life. The weight loss is obviously the big part of it. That's the gigantic part of it. But there's other branches to it. The more energy that I have, the more things I can do with my 5-year-old son, playing, tag, hide and seek, football, things that I was lethargic and didn't want to do when I was so overweight. Awaken 180 has changed my life. If it's time for you to lose weight like it was for me, if it's time for you to change your life like it was for me, take it from a guy that lost over 100 pounds on that program. Go to awaken180weightloss.com, awaken180weightloss.com. You could be their next success story at Awaken 180 Weight Loss.
Love is in the air this February, but nothing kills the mood like a plumbing or HVAC problem. Whether it's a leaky pipe, a backed up septic tank, or your heater isn't keeping things cozy, don't worry. We've got you covered. Call Duck Rooter Plumbing, Septic, and Air Conditioning. Our expert team is here to keep your home running smooth, no matter the issue. When you're stuck, call the Duck, 904-862-6769, or online at duckduckrooter.com.
Transform your bathroom with stunning shower glass from Sky Glass Solutions in Jacksonville Beach. For a free quote, call 904-608-5151 or visit skyglasssolutions.com.
If you're 55 and up, T-Mobile has plans built just for you. 2 lines of unlimited for just $30 a line. That's a 45% savings compared to Verizon and AT&T. But don't just take our word for it.
It's not just the savings that are great with our T-Mobile plan. There's all this value from all these other things that T-Mobile offers.
T-Mobile has been such a savings for us.
We love it.
Switch today and get 2 free 5G phones like the Motorola Edge with Turbo Power charging that gives you power for the day in just 15 minutes. And customers 55 and up can get 2 lines of talk, text, and data for only $30 a line. Go to T-Mobile.com/choice55 to learn more. With AutoPay plus taxes and fees, plus $5 per line without AutoPay. Debit or bank account required. 45% off 2 lines versus AT&T Starter and Verizon Welcome. Plan benefits vary. Motorola Edge on us with 24 monthly bill credits and new line for well-qualified customers, plus tax and $35 per line connection charge. See details at T-Mobile.com. Motorola Edge requires 68-watt charger. Charger sold separately. Actual performance will vary based on usage and configuration.
Instant Keys. You don't have to go to the dealer. Instant Keys comes to you.
Instant Keys saves the day if you have lost or broken keys. They can program new keys and remotes for nearly every make and model of vehicle at a fraction of the dealership cost. Fast, honest, and reliable locksmith service. Call 722-1111.
Instant Keys. Instant Keys. You don't have to go to the dealer.
Need a good idea for a great Valentine's gift? Try 1010XL's sweetheart suggestions from
Kuhn Flowers and Wick at Candle Bar.
Happy Valentine's Day. Find everything you need to know at 1010XL.com.
Cannonball!
Honey, someone's in our pool.
Oh, refreshing.
John, what are you doing?
Oh, hey, Dave. Seeing as how me and the guys at Clearwater Irrigation reinstalled your sprinklers after the pool contractor ripped it out, I thought you wouldn't mind if I took a quick dip.
But in a Jaguar print Speedo?
Yeah, Dave. My bad.
Clearwater Irrigation. We can't sing a lick, but we sure are good at sprinklers.
And drainage, too.
Collisions happen on every play in football. Collisions also happen every day on the road. If you need auto body repair, from a $30 job to a $30,000 job, trust San Jose Collision in Mandarin.
Don't miss the big game specials at Southern Steer Butcher. Check out our website for the big game snack attack, party combo, sampler combo, and the best buffalo dip you've ever had.
For tasty tips and juicy breasts, choose Southern Steer Butcher.
If someone you love needs a pick-me-up, then it's time to get serious about it and send them a Kuhn floral arrangement. RJ here with 1010XL, and you'll be assured of a quality delivery. That's for sure. Log on and order online at KuhnFlowers.com.
With 50 years of fabrication expertise in towing products, the family at Cannons of Jacksonville can repair or install precisely what you need to tow with confidence. Visit cannonsofjacks.com, where quality and customer satisfaction collide.
Need or want cash? Beach's Jewelry and Pawn has cash available. Ready to buy guitars, surfboards, jewelry, firearms, tools, and especially gold. They need it all, selling or pawning. Get cash on the spot at Beach's Jewelry and Pawn in Jacksonville Beach.
Ackerman Urology offers the most advanced options for improving men's health and vitality. Their board-certified urologists treat all prostate disease and sexual health issues. Call their new location at World Golf Village or visit AckermanUrology.com.
3D Digital has you covered for any of your business's digital marketing needs. From producing award-winning videos to getting those digital ads to follow your customers around the internet, our team has your back. Visit 3ddigital.com or give us a call at 904-712-4004 to schedule a free consultation today. 904-712-4004.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville.
Back here on 1010XL at 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville. We are glad you are with us. There's a lot going on with the University of Florida. Of course, the basketball team. Things were going well, not so much up in Knoxville this past weekend. We'll see how they respond. They got a couple of big games coming up, including another big road game at Auburn on Saturday. And the Florida football team has added a new coach, and they're kind of settling into the offseason, an offseason that on the surface has been pretty productive to this point. Let's talk about all of it with David Waters. He is the host of the Gators Breakdown podcast, and David just had Billy Napier on his podcast earlier this week. David, how we doing, man?
Doing pretty good, Hacker. Pretty good. Turning the calendar to February, but as we always say, there's never a dull moment in Gator Nation, kind of like you just laid out there.
Yeah, no question about that. And congrats again on getting Coach Napier on your podcast. How'd that conversation go for you?
Yeah, it went pretty well. You know, we're at that time of year where you can look back a little bit, but of course everybody wants to look ahead to 2025. And, you know, we've all seen the way too early rankings for Florida and seen them as high as number 9 and, you know, kind of around that 15, 16, 17 range as well. So certainly Florida thought of in a much higher, in a much better light than they have been in the last couple of off seasons. So it was good to catch up with Coach and, you know, try to get the lay of the land as Florida moves forward to a big 2025.
You know, I think some of the big stories that have come out of this offseason, one is the whole play calling situation. I think Gator fans are very excited, the direction of the program, particularly after wins against Ole Miss, LSU, Florida State, and the bowl game that ended the season. I mean, when you go in with a 4-game winning streak to the offseason, there's some cause for optimism. People are still questioning, though, the whole idea or lack thereof of an offensive coordinator, the fact that it appears Billy Napier is going to call plays again. What's your thought on that whole situation?
Yeah, of course. I asked him about it. That does seem to be the most polarizing topic for Florida football right now. And hey, look, and we discussed this at length, the last couple of weeks or so when it kind of seemed like he was going to be the play caller. A lot of the rumors when the season ended, and also about when Scott Strickland gave Billy Napier that vote of confidence, some of the talk was, well, there was an agreement maybe to bring in an offensive coordinator. And we heard that last season as well, or at least a different play caller. There has been Russ Callaway, Rob Sale has kind of had that OC, co-OC title, but it's still been Billy Napier as the primary play caller. But looks like nothing's going to change there. And, of course, I asked him about it. And he really – he likes to rely on stability and familiarity. And about a year ago, they rearranged some staff roles for like Russ Callaway to get promoted and handle more of the offense. And Billy Napier, admitted, hey, look, the offensive staff, Ryan O'Hara, the quarterbacks coach, that helped take a lot off my plate last year, where I was able to concentrate on some other aspects of the team. And of course, we they hired a special teams coordinator too to kind of help relieve some of all the duties that's on a head coach's plate on game day, but it also comes into game planning as well. And Napier was very complimentary of the increased role of a Russ Callaway, and it sounds like he may get the sole offensive coordinator title right now, but it's still gonna be Billy Napier calling the plays, and it does seem like he's just kind of handing off some of the other responsibilities that let him concentrate, especially on game days of being the play caller. During the week, they all sit together in the meetings and come up with the game plan. Each offensive coach has their certain part of the field, whether it be backed up on their own 20 or, certain midfield, red zone. So they delegate a whole lot, but still on game days. It does sound like Billy Napier's still going to be the play caller. He just thinks that's the best way to move forward and kind of give, DJ Lagway some reliability, something he's used to, something he's accustomed to right now, and not really change a whole lot.
David Waters is the host of the Gators Breakdown podcast. He's always kind enough to join us here on 1010XL in Jacksonville. David, along with the whole play calling situation, I look at this offseason as a whole right now, and I think if you would have told Gator fans a month and a half ago, all right, you're going to have some attrition, right? Shamar James, TJ Searcy, Jack Pyburn. But with that, Caleb Banks, Tyreek Sapp, Austin Barber, Jake Slaughter are all going to come back. All four of those guys would have been drafted in late April, mind you. 2 on the offensive line, 2 on the defensive line. They all announced they're coming back. You sprinkle in a couple of 5-star wide receivers in Vernell Brown, Dallas Wilson, a big-time wide receiver out of the portal. I got to tell you, David, on the surface, it looks like it's been a pretty productive offseason for Billy Napier in Florida to this point.
Yeah, and Hacker, I think going to your point, it was really about retaining the roster, and not just those big names that you mentioned, but also some of the younger guys on the roster to keep them from hitting the transfer portal and going to other schools. Now, you did have that with Jack Pyburn and Jakeem Jackson and Justice Boone and all that, but those were guys, and that was the edge position. I specifically asked Napier about that because they brought in Kofi Asari from UMass. At that edge spot, kind of like George Gums last year. Not a lot of people have heard from him coming from a smaller school, but as the year went on, you started hearing and seeing a lot of George Gums on the field last year, splitting time with TJ Searcy, splitting times with Jack Pyburn. So Florida did lose some guys, but it was positions they were deep at, especially that edge spot. And Billy Napier said, hey, look, eventually all three of those guys were getting playing time. We had to make some decisions, and they were pretty much splitting the reps equally. We were able to keep them fresh. We were deep there, but at the same time, with all those guys playing, all those guys producing, he even admitted, hey, money comes into play at this point. So you're not going to sit there and play starter money to 3 guys at the same spot. So Searcy hit the portal, Pyburn hit the portal, and so they bring back George Gums to go along with Kofi Asari. So Florida's really hoping at that edge spot that Kofi Asari can replicate what we got from George Gums last year when we saw him on the field there. And J. Michael Sturdivant, the wide receiver that they got out of the portal from UCLA, Napier said on the show that, hey, look, he's a deep threat, and the allure of playing with DJ Lagway really appealed to him. Instead of going to the draft or trying the draft, he wanted to go to Florida to play with DJ Lagway and maybe produce in that role to up his draft stock. So it's certainly as far as portal numbers go, it won't astound you because Florida was able to retain a lot of the roster, didn't have to go portal shopping a lot. We know they really want to get a defensive tackle. We've seen them miss on a couple of spots there in the defensive tackle, so we'll see what the spring portal holds, but I think that's about the position. It may be right tackle if the right one becomes available, but I think Florida likes what they have there along the offensive line with 4 of those 5 guys coming back, and it's going to take a special player for Billy Napier to go get a offensive tackle out of the spring portal.
David, in your conversation with Billy Napier, again, David Waters had Billy Napier on the Gators Breakdown podcast here recently. In your conversation with Coach, and just your personal opinion as well, level of optimism for DJ Lagway entering year number 2 there on the campus.
Yeah, that kind of goes back to the play calling aspect too, Hacker. He said, hey, look, he was injured last year, and that helped that helped maybe limit some of what we were able to do on offense. So if you get a 100% DJ Lagway, the play caller is going to look better. Every great play caller has a great quarterback most of the time as well. So I think that's a route Billy Napier was going along. But he talked about the talent around him. I just mentioned the 4 to 5 offensive linemen that's going to be in front of him. We know how deep Florida is at running back. Yeah, you lose Montreal Johnson, but Jaden Ball and Jacoby Jackson come back. You're deep there. Trayon Webb will come back from injury. So they'll be deep at running back again. And he's really excited about Trey Wilson coming back from injury and see if he can replicate what we saw his freshman season. So it does seem like Billy Napier really likes the talent around DJ Lagway. But, of course, it starts with Lagway. And he really praised him of kind of how far along he'd come, how fast he had to grow up with Graham Mertz getting hurt and getting thrust out there. Weren't really able to work him in like they had planned in the preseason. He had to go start some games for Florida, and just the way he handled that. So, hey, Hacker, he was a 5-star for a reason. Stars matter. So I think in the second season with what Billy Napier has the confidence in and that familiarity with the offense of the play caller, look for DJ Lagway to take an even bigger step in his second season.
David, as we begin to wrap up, you alluded to this earlier. Expectations coming into the 24 season were non-existent. People were just hoping that Florida wouldn't embarrass themselves with that schedule ahead of them. Now, all of a sudden, after an 8-5 campaign, and a couple of those losses came right down to the wire, including the one, obviously, against Tennessee, now there is some optimism, some intrigue, if you will. Granted, the 25 season is still a ways off, and we got a lot of build-up to get to it, but like you said, some way too early top 25s have Florida at number 15. Some way too early prognostications have Florida as a potential dark horse for the college football playoff. Did you ask Napier about that? And if so, what was his reaction?
Yeah, Hacker, he did. He didn't want to talk about last year too much, but he did say, hey, look, that late season stretch gave the team confidence. But it is time to turn the page, and kind of build off of that, not rest on your laurels. Every season is a new season. So take what you learned and take what you think you did right last year in that, and how to learn to win. But it's, I asked him, Hacker, because we know what did Florida in last year, or a big part of last year was getting off to a better start. They had the terrible performance versus Miami, the terrible performance versus Texas A&M, and then they kind of flipped the switch a little bit after that first bye week. So, it was going back and what did you learn in that first bye week that now you can apply to this offseason to get off to a better start? Sure, the schedule is a lot easier to open up this year, but games 3 and 4, Miami and LSU, you're going to have to be ready for those early season matchup. So I think a lot of it is take a lot from what they learned last year and realize, while that winning streak at the end of the season was nice, it's now time to take the next step. You got this, I think it's correct to label it a 2-year window with Lagway, and I think with the pieces coming back, it's time for the Gators to strike. And if it's not now, when will it be under Billy Napier?
David Waters, host of the Gators Breakdown podcast. David, tell the good folks here in Jacksonville about the podcast, the Billy Napier episode specifically, and where they can find it if they want to go give it a listen.
Yeah, Hacker, they can find it anywhere. YouTube, your favorite podcast platform is out there. Sat down with the head coach for about 30 minutes. And I know, Hacker, I joked around with him a little bit. It was a pretty interesting answer that he gave of why he always wears black. Not an orange shirt, not a blue shirt, not a white shirt. Why is Billy Napier always wearing a black shirt on the sideline? He gives a pretty interesting answer on that question.
David, I've told you this in the past, man. You have done an absolutely terrific job with that podcast, building it up over the years. Congratulations to you on all that success. Again, Gator fans, go check out the Gators Breakdown podcast. My friend David Waters had Billy Napier on with his most recent episode. David, thank you as always, pal. We'll talk again soon.
No, thanks, Hacker.
Now, the cool down from the cool guys at Donovan Air Electric and Plumbing. Fast, reliable, and honest service since '87.
And thank you to my buddy David Waters of the Gators Breakdown podcast for joining us tonight here on Hacker After Dark. Always enjoy talking with David, and good for him and Billy Napier on his podcast late last week. Thought some interesting things came out of that podcast, as David told you about. They talked with Billy Napier about the changes to the coaching staff, about guys like Tyreek Sapp and, Caleb Banks, Austin Barber, Jake Slaughter, all returning. Brought up a little bit of the recruiting class that Billy Napier brought in this year, and about some expectations. I mean, let's keep in mind, last year at this time, with the 24th season on the horizon, there were 0 expectations for Florida. After an 8-win season, with including wins over Ole Miss and LSU and Florida State and the bowl victory, now there are a decent amount of expectations on Florida coming into the 2025 campaign. I thought it was interesting hearing what David had to say about that and what Billy Napier told David about that on the Gators Breakdown podcast late last week. So certainly appreciate David for joining us here this evening. We spent some time on that, but as you can imagine, a majority of the time was spent on the Jacksonville Jaguars, as the coaching staff really is coming together. The big news today, I guess late last night, but really we woke up to it this morning, is Grant Udelsky, the 29-year-old from the Minnesota Vikings, is now the brand new offensive coordinator for the Jacksonville Jaguars. So you got 29-year-old Grant Udelsky, you got 42-year-old Anthony Campanile, and you got 39-year-old Liam Cohen. I guess the elder statesman of the group is 43-year-old Heath Farwell. Those are your coordinators and your head coach. A lot of the assistant coaches are coming into focus as well, as this coaching staff is starting to get filled out a little bit. Still waiting on word about a general manager. Tony Baselli was out in New Orleans earlier this week, so that process, at least the virtual interview process, will really kick off early next week. But the Jaguars will probably act fairly quickly after the Super Bowl, as again, we are only 3 weeks away from the NFL Scouting Combine. Well, that will just about do it. It has been a very busy Thursday night edition of Hacker After Dark. We certainly appreciate you guys hanging out with us on 1010XL and on 92.5 FM. We have a ton of people to thank. Again, David Waters, host of the Gators Breakdown podcast. Appreciate David taking time out for us tonight. Thank you to my buddy Cecil Shorts, former wide receiver for the Jacksonville Jaguars. You get him every week here on Hacker After Dark, as we talked about the Grant Udelsky offensive coordinator hire, the Tony Baselli EVP of football operations hire, how this coaching staff is coming into focus, and previewed the Super Bowl with Cecil Shorts. Appreciate Cecil spending time with us as he does each and every week. And back in hour number 1, Matthew Coller, PurpleInsider.com. He's our guy up in Minneapolis when it comes to the Minnesota Vikings, as we did a deep dive on the 29-year-old, the brand new offensive coordinator, Grant Udelsky, now in Jacksonville. Of course, he spent his previous 3 years up there in Minnesota. Now, we will be back tomorrow night on a Friday to close out the week beginning at 8 o'clock, and we do hope that you join us then. Dylan Denmark was your producer tonight. Dylan, great job as always. I'm the hacker, Ryan Green. And again, Jacksonville, thank you for spending part of your Thursday evening with us right here on Hacker After Dark on 1010XL and on 92.5 FM. So for all of us here on HAD, have an absolutely terrific remainder of your Thursday evening, and we will do it all over again tomorrow night to close out the week on a Friday beginning at 8 o'clock. Until then, good night, Jacksonville.